Can a $30 GPU really hold its own against a $50 one in 2024? Today, we're putting the GTX 960 against the hard-hitting GTX 980 to the test in 5 games. Let's find out just how much $20 difference makes when it comes to dollar per performance. Let's find out, shall we? Alright, let's check out the specs. The GTX 960 comes with a 2GB of DDR5 memory running at 1127 MHz and a 128-bit memory bus with 1024 CUDA cores. Sounds fancy, right? But the GTX 980 is bringing a hit with 4GB of DDR5 at 12,004 MHz and a 256-bit memory bus and a whooping 2048 CUDA cores, double the memory and double the core. If you are into the technical details, don't worry, the rest of the specs are up on the screen for all you spec junkies out there. Let's find out just how much $20 difference makes in terms of gaming performance in 2024, shall we? In our first test with Elden Ring, the GTX 980 held a steady 60 frames, delivering smooth and consistent gameplay. The GTX 960, however, fluctuated between 30 to 60 FPS with an average of about 45 FPS. While this caused some minor dips in smoothness, it did not negatively affect gameplay overall. In terms of graphics, both cards produced nearly identical visuals, so there is no real comparison on image quality, but with a 33% performance difference, the GTX 980 clearly offers a smoother experience. If you are after the stable frame rate, the GTX 980 takes the lead, but the GTX 960 still holds its own, especially for the price. So what do you think? Would you spend the extra $20 for the GTX 980 or stick with the more affordable GTX 960? Let us know in the comment section below, and don't forget to hit that like button if you are enjoying the comparison. Next up is GTA 5, and yes, you've probably heard me call this one of my favorite games more than a couple times. Get ready to hear it a lot more. In this test, both GPU performed almost identical at 1080p on normal settings. Frame rates range from 98 to 120 for both the GTX 960 and the GTX 980, with no stuttering or hiccups during gameplay. Visually, the graphics were nearly identical, so no surprises there. The only real difference, the GTX 980 offered a smoother frame graph, meaning more consistent frame delivery, while the GTX 960 wasn't quite as smooth. Still, the overall experience on both the GTX 960 and the 980 was rock solid. Moving on to Borderlands 3 at 1080p on low settings, the GTX 980 pulled ahead again, delivering a solid 60 to 100 FPS. The GTX 960, on the other hand, mostly hovered around 40 FPS, even though it would occasionally hit 60. Despite the low settings, both cards kept the visual looking very good and gameplay remained smooth overall. However, frame spikes were present on both GPUs, with the GTX 960 experiencing more frequent dips. Once again, it's clear that spending a little extra on the GTX 980 offers more reliable, consistent experience. I guess you could say the GTX 960 is like a low-budget action movie. Plenty of ups and downs, but you still want to see how it ends. If you want fewer surprises in your gameplay, the GTX 980 might just be the ticket for you. The GTX 980 emerged as the winner during our 1080p low setting test on the Far Cry 6. Again, mind you, both cards perform admirably, and I would even go as far as to say the GTX 960 did some great work here. The GTX 980 yielded a solid 60 to 80 frames per second, while the 960 fluctuated between 18 to 60 FPS. I know, this is wild. Yes, there was noticeable stuttering with the 960, but otherwise the game ran smoothly on both cards. Explosion didn't cause as many problems as I had anticipated, and the game looked absolutely fantastic. The visual quality was impressive even at low settings. Have you tested these graphic cards with Far Cry 6 or any other recent games? Share your experience in the comment section below. If you are considering upgrading your GPU, don't forget to check out our full comparison of the GTX 980 and the GTX 960 for more insight on their performance across various games and settings. Link in the description below. Blackmate Wukong was the final game in our testing lineup, running at 1080p with low settings, 50% resolution scaling, and both TSR and frame gen enabled. We observed impressive results. The GTX 980 delivered a robust 60 to 100 FPS, while the GTX 960 managed a more modest but still playable 33 to 40 FPS. Although the GTX 960 frame rate is lower, it could still provide an enjoyable experience for single player gameplay. Surprisingly, the graphics remained visually appealing even with the 50% resolution scaling. The gameplay was noticeably smooth on both ends, though this is just a benchmark 2. I'm just using that as a comparison. And occasionally there were some frame spikes on the GTX 960 as well as the 980 during the beginning and ending of the benchmark. These spikes were infrequent and they didn't significantly distract from the overall gaming experience if we were playing the game. Now, let's discuss some of the challenges we encountered during our testing with these two cards. To be honest, there weren't many issues, but a few stood out that I felt were worth sharing. First off, let's talk about the noise level. Although the GTX 980 consumes more power, its noise output was surprisingly tolerable, making it suitable for longer gaming sessions. In contrast, the GTX 960 cranked up the noise level quite a bit, even just setting in the game menu, it was noticeably louder. Next up is the VRAM situation. With gaming in 2024 becoming increasingly VRAM hungry, having those extra 2GB of VRAM on the GTX 980 definitely is a significant advantage. If you are planning to play more demanding titles, that additional VRAM can make a difference. Lastly, I found it surprising that the GTX 980 draws quite a bit of power. If you want to save a few bucks on your electricity bills, I recommend undervolting the card slightly. It can help reduce some power consumption without sacrificing performance. Well, my final opinion, both the GTX 960 and the GTX 980 have their strengths and weaknesses, and each has its place in the gaming landscape. If you are still rocking a GTX 960 and it serves you well, I don't think you need to rush into an upgrade. Upgrade it when it starts to hold you back from enjoying your favorite games. Whether you are looking for a budget option or a more robust performance, there's a choice for everyone in today's gaming community. If you liked what you see and would definitely want to see more, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. I post videos every 3 days, but there might be some schedule changes due to a dentist appointment I have. So guys, wish me luck. I'm not very good with the doctors. Until then, cheers.